Channel Z and Knox Brew Hub present Knox Brew Radio and Podcast, an in-depth look at the craft beer scene in Knoxville and the latest craft beer news from around the country and all over the world. Brought to you by First Century Bank, family-owned local banking since 1894. And by longtime friends of the show, Grayson Subaru. Broadcasting live from the Hub in downtown Knoxville every Monday at 6 p.m. And now, kick back and crack one open with local beer's best friends, Zach, Ace, and Stryker.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Knox Brew Radio and Podcast, where every single Monday we get to hang out at the Hub and drink beer and do our favorite thing in the entire world, which is talk about beer.
Yeah, we do.
Let me start over. Number one, drink beer. Number two, talk about beer.
These are a few of my favorite things.
As always, this is Zach Roskop, your host, joined with my wonderful co-host. Mama calls me Kevin, a.k.a. Stryker, a.k.a. just Kevin, a.k.a.
What's new this week?
Doc.
Okay, that'll work.
I
An
forgot
only
about
goodie.
Joining us behind the table, as always, we have our wonderful video producer, Cam Mullador. Cam, thanks for hanging out. One of these days, it's on our radio show bucket list to give Cam a microphone because he definitely deserves it. And today we have a special show. Normally we wait until around the 30-minute mark to go off the rails, but we're going to do that
right out of the gate.
Immediately. Candace Ace Preston, our wonderful host, was unable to join us this evening, so we have replaced her for one night only with our special guest this evening. Directly to my left, we have Kent Oglesby and Garrett Thompson of Born and Raised Productions. Thanks for being here, fellas.
Thanks for having us, as always.
We're children of chaos, so we're ready for this.
Let's go.
This is my fault. I have to leave early, so now you have to listen to me throughout the entire first half of the show.
We'll take it.
Well, we're happy to have you guys, and although you're our guest, and normally we wait till after the music will break for our first guest, I'm excited to have you from the get-go and be a part of the Brew News segment and all that kinds of good stuff. So thanks for being here and hanging out with us, y'all.
Absolutely.
Usually, we like to take a minute to thank our wonderful sponsors, but today we're going to do it a little bit differently because something that we have in common with Born and Raised Productions, our wonderful guests, is that we've worked with these sponsors in our own respective fields, if you will.
They've made a lot of great things happen in this town.
They have, and they've been a big part of making Knoxville a wonderful place to live, and for us, a wonderful place to work. They've made a lot of things possible.
In particularly if you like beer and music.
Yeah.
Beer and music,
Indeed,
and beer,
I do.
beer and music.
So really, really briefly, give me like the 2-second, we'll dive deeper later.
Yeah.
Give me the 2-second version of what is Born and Raised Productions?
Go ahead.
I think we're cheerleaders. For music. We're talent buyers and production company that put on concerts and festivals. But more or less, we like to make fans for new bands. That's what I'm most passionate about.
I love that. Well, in a short version, it doesn't have to be short. I don't know why I keep saying that. As talent buyers and music producers, we've talked every week about how First Century and Grayson Subaru has made what we do at Knox Brew Radio possible. What have they done for you all at Born and Raised Productions?
They've believed in a lot of crazy ideas that have turned out to be incredible for the community. But I mean, they took a chance on a new company, and I think that's huge. The fact that they believe in young talent in Knoxville and want to see Knoxville succeed. I think for both of our companies, they've done that. And
both Grayson and First Century, first of all, being willing to pick up the phone whenever we call them and say, hey, we've got a crazy idea that's going to be great for Knoxville. They're usually like, okay, when is it? And that's the only question they ask.
Yeah.
And the other thing, like Garrett said,
drink to that.
that they were willing to kind of take a chance on us before we had any kind of reputation in this town, going years back. So a lot of the stuff, especially starting out when we didn't have any money to spend on any bands or any events, like having them have our back enabled us to grow from the beginning.
7 years ago, First Century wrote me a very small loan for $2,500 to buy a school bus off of Craigslist. And that was the beginning of Knox Brew Tours. And it's crazy to me to think that Knox Brew Tours wouldn't have happened. Most likely the Hub would not have happened. And therefore this radio show wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for First Century. And Grayson has done so much for us, especially the three of us during COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
Which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Well, if you're listening live on Channel Z, come on down to the Hub and join us. If you're listening later on a podcast, we're here every single Monday drinking beer at 6 o'clock at Knox Brew Hub. We want to say a big shout-out and thank you to our sponsors, First Century and Grayson.
Shanna and Dan, I assume you're watching.
Yeah, Shanna texted
Thank
me
you.
that she couldn't
Thank
be
you.
here, and she wanted to make sure that we knew she loved us. And I was
Yes.
like, we know. And Dan's not shown up for a show yet.
That's disappointing. If there's one he should have shown up for.
Yeah, so Dan, get your butt down here.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
And we'll do a quick shout-out to our sponsors again. Thanks so much for making the show possible.
Yes,
Cheers,
thank
y'all.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Sponsors.
I'll drink to that.
All right, folks, let's quit wasting time and dive into this week's Brew News.
All right.
Coming out of Finland, I love this headline. A Finnish brewery is using goose poop to make beer. That's right, folks. Goose poop.
Is that sanitary?
It is sanitary once you learn how they're using it. Okay, so there's a town in Finland that just was crowned the most green city in Europe. They find lots of different ways to use renewable resources, to remove trash, do all these kinds of things. Well, a group of individuals are removing goose poop from the public parks and giving it to a brewery who is then smoking it and using the smoke from the goose poop to flavor their malts to make a stout with it.
I want to know how many beers deep they were when they came up with this idea.
I'm thinking the same thing.
This same brewery has also used whale vomit, bonsai tree trimmings, pepper spray, and fried chicken on all their
One
beers.
of those is not like the others.
They're calling it the Wasted Potential Imperial Stout.
What does that say about their opinion on fried chicken?
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the greenest thing that you can do. I mean, goose poop, if you've ever been around a place with a lot of geese, is in very, very large quantities, just plentiful wherever you can find it. I don't think that means it's good to put in beer.
If anybody's gone to Pellissippi State,
Yes,
there's
yes, everywhere.
Yep.
The reason they brewed this beer is in hopes to hammer home the idea of a wasteless circular economy, and they're using it as a tool to educate people on food waste and on green efforts. So there you go.
Do you want to taste it, or is this just good, like radio content fodder?
I would 100% taste it because I know they wouldn't produce the beer if there wasn't food safe. So the
Okay.
fact that it's food safe, I'm in.
Do they have an FDA there, though? Have you thought about this?
We'll reach out. Maybe, you know what? Here's a good project for you, Stryker.
Oh,
Let's
great.
reach out to this brewery and see if they would comment, if they'd call in the show and comment on this directly. We'll get the answer to these questions.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. As always, I'm excited to ask, but do we have another damn seltzer report this week?
Damn right we do.
What is this?
Whether I like it,
Every single week we have a Stryker does that damn seltzer report.
because it's always in the news every week, whether I like it or not. So I begrudgingly have started a seltzer report with the onset of our new format. And yes, this week reports are showing that there is actually a decline in the sales of hard seltzers since February.
Good. More for me.
Finally.
But
More for me.
Here's the but.
But industry analysts all agree that it is just a temporary dip. Most believe that since bars and restaurants have begun to reopen, many consumers have flooded back to their old habits of going out instead of drinking at home, which accounts for the decline in packaged seltzer sales over the last couple of months. However, as the summer months are upon us and more brewers are adding seltzers to the marketplace, the trend is expected to correct its course and continue to grow overall, with some analysts predicting that hard seltzers to swell to becoming a $15 billion industry by 2025. Now, for some context, it was $500 million in 2018, $4 billion in 2020.
Wow.
So they're
lot of
expecting it
claws.
to triple in size in market share by 2025. Now, one of the big established brands that are now jumping on the seltzer bandwagon is Dos Equis. Dos Equis is launching Dos Equis Ranch Water Hard Seltzer, the latest innovation to join the popular Mexican import portfolio, inspired by the flavors of the classic West Texas drink, which is comprised of tequila, sparkling mineral water, and lime. Dos Equis Ranch Water will be available in the classic lime flavor in 6-pack 12-ounce cans with 90 calories, 4.5% ABV, and 0 grams of carbs.
The only thing I hate more than seltzers is when I hear about a seltzer and I think I want that.
I was going to say, is it heresy
making
on
me
this
feel
show to
weird.
say anything positive about hard seltzers?
It's disheartening, but it's
Sorry,
become
I'm that guy.
commonplace.
I feel like I'm a Tennessee fan walking into Baton Rouge saying "Go Balls" right now.
Hey,
Give me all the. You said that sales were declining. I was like, "That's good. More for me."
Yeah.
I'll drink the White Claw.
Hey, I find myself, enjoying a refreshing seltzer beverage from time to time. Even it's happened on the air
Even begrudgingly.
a couple of times.
And we have several local seltzers as well. So
That's
you
true.
can-
Yeah, we got some good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we always like to do brew news, but since we've got some wonderful guests with us here that represent the music industry here in Knoxville, you got any music news for us?
Yeah, we got some. This is not like a headline, but so we are subscribed to the National Independent Venues Association, and the Tennessee chapter here got great news just last night that the grant process for the Shuttered Venues Act, they have finally started to fund venues.
That is awesome.
Nice.
I'll
So-
drink
Yeah,
to that.
big news.
I'll drink to
yeah,
that.
big news.
Cheers.
And you said it's not just shuttered venues; it also
it's
includes
promoters, it's talent buyers, it's agents, and it's managers. But this has been, if you've kept up with what the venues have had to go through, they've been closed for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Right.
So they've been waiting on this money from Congress, and it finally started to come through. So hopefully we'll start to see those doors open back up. Great tours come through our town.
And one of the things that the three of us related to was that we happened to share an office space pre-COVID. And as we were going into COVID, we both found ourselves in a very similar space where we weren't able to sell our product.
Right.
I was unable to run tours. You all were unable to do live music shows. And, we went through a lot of phases.
So we became clowns. We became touring clowns.
Yeah. And then the three of you showed up at my house one day.
That's right.
As
Which was-
clowns,
but-
clowning
but-
around.
Which
For
was a
your
great
birthday, right?
birthday. Yeah, it was a
But-
great birthday.
But we went through a lot of phases, and I'll be honest. There was some fear, there was some jealousy, there was some excitement. There was a lot of different versions of that time period. But one of the things that was tough was, and I love our restaurants and I love our breweries. They were definitely negatively impacted, but they were still able to sell their product.
Right.
Where music venues and brewery tour companies had no
We had
options.
nothing. We had
There
nothing.
was nothing.
Yeah.
Which we ended up getting a little bit creative with, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. So I'm really excited to hear that there is some financial aid coming to businesses like you all.
And I just want to give a shout out to Chris Cobb out of Nashville, who runs Exit In. He has been a champion for everyone, not just his own venue, but for everyone, not only in Tennessee, but for like the whole U.S. He stepped up when he didn't have to step up.
I love that.
And really appreciate that guy for leading the charge there.
Well, as we like to say on this show, I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, and that's it for this week's Brew News. As always, we like to take a quick break for music because we love music as much as we love beer, which is what we're going to talk about when we come back from this break. We're going to freshen up our glasses. During this break, Stryker, what are we listening to?
You know what? I felt that it would only be appropriate, considering our guests this evening, that I dedicate this next song to them. In my way of saying thank you for bringing an amazing major show to the World's Fair lawn just a few weeks ago. It's a little moon taxi with all day and all night.
And now it's time for, as always, our favorite part of the show, where we get to hang out with our wonderful guests and drink some beer. Speaking of drinking beer, that's one of my favorite sounds in the whole wide
You've gotten
world.
good at opening the tab for audible sound in the microphone.
We don't have a big budget for sound effects.
Yeah.
So, it's like the early days of radio. Where
You don't have a Foley guy on call.
Just to be clear, this is not for me. This is for the audience. I don't want to drink this beer at all. This is purely For the just kidding, it's delicious.
Does that say non-alcoholic?
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
NA.
It is a
good.
non-alcoholic IPA. Would you like a sip?
I would love one. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is Well-Being. That's a great non-alcoholic beer that we have
that's
here.
great.
At the Hub. It's probably the best NA beer I've ever had. I think I could give this beer to somebody and they would not know
Yeah.
that it was non-alcoholic. So
Yeah, I love them.
So we were going to feature a beer on the show, but that beer is so delicious that we've just sold out of it. While we were sitting here,
right.
we sold the last 3 4-packs that we have
Right on.
of the Vollen beer.
Thanks a lot, guys.
The Vollen beer lager from Next Level Brewing Company.
Yeah.
It was actually Garrett's suggestion to drink that beer. That was a great suggestion.
Go Vols.
Everybody's
But,
hopping on the
yeah.
bandwagon.
Yeah, we are.
Kent said he could talk about UT baseball for hours.
You want to?
We're ready.
I think the
We're
whole
ready.
town could right now.
I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
I think we'll just sum it up with Go Vols, and when you get a chance, get your hands on some Vollen beer from Next Level Brewing Company. We'll have some down here at the
Grab
Hub.
some
Yeah.
Vollen beer and watch our team play in Omaha.
Yes.
It's going to
Yeah.
be awesome.
Cheers.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
I'll
Cheers.
drink to that.
All right, well let's dive into it.
So you've got a lot of pauses built into the show every time you say I'll drink to that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. You're comfortable with dead air.
Hey, it's a real drinking show.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
That's fantastic.
My hope is that as people are listening, that when they're also pausing because they're drinking with us. That would be a dream come true.
Don't touch that dial. We're not going anywhere. We're
it's
just
a-
taking sips.
You guys out there, I hope you're drinking.
You're talking about dead air. It's a great transition. How did you all? We mentioned earlier in the show that during COVID-19, you all were unable to do what you do.
Yeah.
How did you adapt, and how did you keep busy over the last 15 months?
I mean, we could talk the whole show about this. I alluded earlier, the last time you had me on this show, we were talking about it as we were starting doing the Celebration Bus, and our tone talking about it was so much different back then because we were so happy to be doing anything.
Yes.
And then months later, we look back on it, and we were like, we were just basically traveling clowns for hire.
Yes, yes.
Which was
But
fine.
amazing.
Well, thank
We
you.
were good at our
Amazing
job. We're not
traveling.
The
gonna
one
do
we did
anything
for you,
poorly.
Kevin, was
Exactly.
probably one of my favorite ones that we ever did.
Listen, I'm serious, because everything shut down around mid-March, and my birthday is late April. So I had been
That's a
in
bummer.
for a little over a month, not going anywhere, and we were all trying our best to, stay social, whether it be digitally or socially distanced, or find these creative ways, which all of you excel at in such amazing fashion. The fact that you all showed up in a brew bus, music ablazing, came out, did the whole little skit with the whole
John
football
Ward call?
reenactment.
We reenacted Jeff Hall's game-winning field goal against Florida in '98.
We did that.
That was such a joy in a moment when I desperately needed it. I mean, for one thing, I just needed a couple of friends to come by and drink a beer in my yard with
Yeah,
me.
that's true.
And that was a part of it, too. So thank you, all you guys, for your creativity and for bringing joy to people when they desperately needed it.
Yeah.
And speaking of bringing joy, as we mentioned, you all were the ones that produced and put on the Moon Taxi show.
Yes.
So Lauren Lazarus, good friend of mine, was in my pod with me.
You guys
And
had a pretty killer pod.
We had a great
I was
pod.
pretty jealous.
Yeah. And you came by and said hi, and I looked at Lauren and I said, she goes, why does he look familiar? And I was like, well, that's Garrett. He's the other half that put on this show. Great dudes, Garrett and Kent. And she's like, wait a minute. Did they come to my house with the bus with you and act? And I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we
right.
did that.
Yep,
That's
forgot
true.
about that
so
one.
she goes, wait, the same people that put on this big ass show are the same people
We're the
that
same dum-dums that came and danced to Right Said Fred in my front yard. Yeah,
and I
that
said,
happened.
yeah, and
You
she
are
just
correct.
goes, oh.
Yeah.
That's the right reaction. Yeah.
See, what else did we do? So we also did the cul-de-sac concerts.
Yeah.
We
Those
took
were
the
great.
bus. Those were really special. And something that you guys have kind of outgrown cul-de-sac concerts, but something that I still think could be cool to see a service like that in Knoxville for smaller singer-songwriters to be able to reach out to local neighborhoods, almost like food trucks.
I think we could set that up. I don't think that would be hard. I think that Born and Raised could still facilitate that.
I think it's a really cool avenue for singer-songwriters
Yeah.
to connect with their audience. And what else? What other shenanigans did we get into?
We started a record label and a podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
2 podcasts.
Both
actually.
of them, honestly, probably ill-advised.
And I'll never
and an
forget.
apparel line.
But
All
we
the
did
money
them.
we made from the cul-de-sac concerts was spent on
was
that.
spent on being a record label.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the theme song. Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Oh, we're gonna keep the podcast going. We just once everything's been opening back up, we've just been too busy to,
It's been like
to do a new
drinking from a
episode.
fire hose.
And we're gonna
Just-
get to what's been keeping you guys busy. That's
Yeah.
gonna be my last question for you.
That's fine.
We'll get to that in a minute, but let's talk for a minute about what you all professionally and also personally feel like bonds music and beer so well. Why is the connection between craft beer and music just seem like brother and sister in the same family?
You asked me this question the first time that I appeared on this show, and I'll restate. Nobody remembers. It doesn't matter. Beer sales makes the world go round in music. They're two things that are like always forever paired together. You're at a concert, you'd like a beer. You're drinking beer, you'd like to have some music to listen to.
Yep.
Like they pair very, very well together. And without alcohol sales, music promoters would be out of all of the jobs.
It was a great answer then. It's a great
That's
answer
a
now.
good financial answer. Mine's a little more romantic. I
You
just
would.
think
That sounds right.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that with beer and music, music is one of those things that you really have to like lower your guard to experience with everyone in the room. And beer allows you to just be friendly, be neighborly with the people in the room, and it allows for a better music experience because it's supposed to be enjoyed together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest reason why I think they worked so well together is that, like, I can't tell you how many bars in Knoxville I'm a regular at, and I just belly up to the bar and get to know the people beside me. And I feel like it's a similar experience with music, live music.
Yeah.
You meet people at concerts. You all know you have something in common because you're like, we love this band.
Right.
And it brings you together. I
That's
think
true.
really
Chemically,
cool.
like lowering your inhibitions just enough to
Just-
where you're like, I really want to be belting out this song along with the band, but I'm worried about what the people around me are going to think and what my voice sounds like. You drink a beer, Liquid Courage, you just sing along.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Liquid Courage is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It most definitely is.
So
For sure.
you guys have to call me out on this. If one of you,
You got
said
it.
this, this is not an original idea, but I can't remember who planted this seed in my brain.
It was me.
It was me.
Me? I did it.
But there is something about beer in context that is really important. We've talked about this on the show. Like an old style in the outfield at Wrigley Field,
Right.
is an experience. And I think sometimes true for music as well as beer, that having a certain beverage at a show can create an experience and a memory that is almost like when you leave the show, you can sort of take that CD with you, when there were CDs, to remember that show. There's also opportunities for you to for that beverage to remind you of that experience, that those are bonded together.
Yeah.
I do remember that it was the three of us. We all had this conversation in our office. Yeah, some music is seasonal. You attract your memories of a certain record or even a single or just fill in the blank, and it always takes you back to that place. And if you're used to listening to Bob Marley in the springtime, it's going to be a springtime vibe, and you're forever going to equate that with springtime.
Right.
Beer is the same way to some extent. You could probably speak more to that than I could. But yeah, if I'm drinking like a nice stout,
Yeah.
it's like that's wintertime vibes for me.
Yeah.
You know?
here.
Listen, the Coors Light is actually on the Thompson Crest. It's a family beer that we only drink at the beach, and that's what our family does. We go to the beach.
No shame in that.
We buy the grocery store out of Coors Light, and then
what you
that's
do.
our thing.
You kind of captured that spirit a little bit when you all started Beer Me That Vinyl. There was a lot of parallels between beer and music as an art form.
Yeah.
And I felt like you guys were doing a really great job of capturing the spirit of the artistic elements of music and beer together. Tell me a little bit about what you all did with Beer Me That Vinyl.
Yeah, it was fun because we were able to reach out to the artist and the brewer and kind of get their feedback on, like, what do you think fits here? Like, what,
Right.
we would ask the artist, like, what brewery do you guys, like, connect with? And we'd ask the brewer, like, what style do you guys have that you feel like fits this record? And it's a strange question to be like, what flavor of beer fits this
Sounds-
style of music?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's a weird combination, but it challenged them, and then we would find those connections, and both the artist and the brewer always they loved it. They really enjoyed it to be able to bring those
I
two
love
together.
the concept of bringing those two things together.
Yeah.
The audible and the taste as well, and the smell.
Yeah.
It is a multi-sensory experience on both ends.
Yeah, with the brewing process, there's a little more science involved in terms of the artistic expression. But it was interesting to get both of their approaches to the artistic expression of beer and music, and go, okay, where do these align? What crosses over here, and your intention in making this record, and your intention in making this beer, and just get pretentious as we could with it.
Yeah. I love that.
The only thing I wish we would have done is just kept the microphones rolling after we wrapped for all of those shows, because some of the best conversations we had were right after we finished, to hear how much the brewers wanted to nerd out about their favorite bands. We talked with Aaron from Crafty Bastard for another hour and a half after we wrapped our podcast, and then got done. We're like, well, that last part should have been the podcast.
We should have kept rolling.
So if we revive it, that's probably going to be an amendment that we keep in the show.
There'll be a sign at the front door. When you walk in, it's recording.
It's recording.
Always be rolling.
One of the other things that we've talked about on the program recently was about some potential changes long-term because of the pandemic in legislation as it relates to concerts, drinking, things like that. And there's a proposal that Scott West has put on the table about turning Market Square into a place where you can,
open carry,
open
container.
He's been on that for-
Open carry is a different
within
thing.
the boundaries of Market Square there.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a two-part question, because it kind of goes back to what you said earlier. But first of all, what are your thoughts on that proposal as far as how it would benefit downtown Knoxville or be of a detriment
I
to
love it.
downtown
I mean,
Knoxville?
if I can call out our local government a little bit.
Of course.
A lot of our alcohol laws are completely arcane, and I've seen in other cities that are able. Burlington, Vermont, for example, has an area that's just like Market Square that has what you're talking about, where people can just walk out with an open container, and people love it.
Yeah, Savannah, Georgia, St. Augustine, Florida.
And we've had that in Knoxville on
Orleans.
occasion for
New
special
Orleans.
events, but you need the proper permitting
Right.
for special events. And we used to have a concert series on Gay Street, kind of in the middle of when Sundown in the City was happening, where you could do just that. And we have that still for other festivals, like I think Rosini festivals like that.
Right.
And so we've seen that it can work just in special circumstances. I don't see any reason why we can't make it permanent.
As event producers, I'm happy to jump through as many hoops as the state makes us jump through,
Right.
as long as there is a path.
A pathway through.
And I think that's a safe way to do it. It's don't say no. Give us stipulations to jump through. We'll meet them, because I think it's important to keep people safe. We're dealing with something that obviously we want to keep people safe while they're drinking beer, but let us drink it when we want to drink
Exactly.
it.
And I feel we're all in agreement on that side of it. Now, the second part of that question is, as event promoters and as Market Square as a venue for concerts, how would that work if you know that the revenue share that you're going to get off of beer sales is crucial to the success of your show? But what are they going to do about all the restaurants that are now selling beer to your audience up and down?
It might be a moot point. We were just walking through Market Square today and saw the new beautification efforts and trees that have been planted in there. It looks like they're committing to never having concerts there
and the
again
amount
because
of-
of the sight lines that are taken up by those giant trees.
The
which is
amount
fine.
of residential that's down here as well. We were talking to special events about it. I don't see Market Square being a concert venue moving forward.
Right.
But I'm excited about that because this place does well. Market Square is a hub,
Yes.
so to speak,
Yeah.
for all sorts of great experiences, food, nightlife. But it doesn't need to be a music venue, because that allows us to develop new places. Like we said, World's Fair Park, they just spent so much money on
And
that
they did
park.
such a great job.
So it allows us to
And there may be a new
explore
music
other
venue
parts.
downtown at some point here
Yeah,
pretty soon that we
maybe.
definitely
Hey, we'll get to
know
that in
nothing
a
about.
minute. But before we do need to say goodbye to Kent. as Kent has to get out of here.
I've got more work.
Kent, before you bounce out of here, I want to say something, and then a quick question. I want to say happy birthday, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Happy Flag Day.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, stop. You have to pay for that.
Okay. And no, it was a different rhythm. I changed it up. And the second thing is there any last final comments before you head out of here?
Really put me on the spot here. Love you guys. It was great to see you. This has been a lot of fun, as always.
Go Vols.
A lot of live music is coming down the pike here for the second half of 2021. Everybody be on the lookout.
Nice.
Might be a good time to sign up to Born and Raised email list.
Awesome. And then
That's
you
a good plug.
you
That's
can
a good
listen to
plug.
the podcast tomorrow to see if your other half here says anything that he'll regret. So
I'm going to have to listen to that to keep
He's
tabs.
so nervous right now. I
Yeah,
can
I
see
really
him
am.
sweating.
I've seen how much of that beer he's drank so far, and I'm getting a little worried.
It's gonna be entertaining though. It will.
But of
Kent,
course.
Kent, thanks for being here. We appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And happy birthday, brother.
All right, so Garrett, looking back at the experience of the Moon Taxi show, what was that feeling like for you all to put on a show again?
I feel like it's almost like therapy. Live music in general is like therapy for both Kent and I. Feel like it's healing, and the fact that we didn't have it for a year, it was hard. It was psychologically and mentally hard, and so to have that chance to bring people together, to see people smiling and enjoying the event, I can't describe it honestly. It was incredible. It felt amazing.
Did it feel like you were sort of doing it again for the first time, or did you feel like you picked up right where you left off?
So, I've been doing this a really long time. I started Rhythm and Blooms in 2015, and that was the first taste I really have of something that large, and it felt very similar to that, of like, oh man, this is cool. This is great,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get that feeling again.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were able to like kind of, because it was the first really big event that like Born and Raised got to put our name on.
Yeah.
We were able to produce an event for 1,500 people under our own small umbrella that is our company. So like,
I mean,
it felt
we share an office in a
Yeah.
basement, so
of
like
a brewery.
yeah, of a brewery, yeah. So I get that. It's crazy to see such a big show put on by you guys. It's great. It's a really, as your friends, it was a really awesome experience. When we ran the first brew tour last weekend, I was like, this is so surreal. I've probably guided 800 brewery tours, but I feel like this is the first time I've ever guided a tour.
Yeah.
And once we got into it, it's sort of, it all came back to me and it felt normal. But at first, there was just kind of that shock of like,
It's Kent again. Zach dismissed me earlier, but I still had 2 minutes left. I just want to jump in and say really quickly, yes, that Moon Taxi show was great, but we had so much going on that we didn't really have time for it to sink in until like days after the show.
That's true.
We did one at Pretentious, that Dolly Parton Fest thing with 3 sold-out shows with a band of our friends that we actually had time to actually, set everything up and then get to watch the show. That's when it first hit me. I got super emotional, was not expecting it, was in public, having a good gentleman's cry in the back of the room. And then Haley LaBelle, one of the musicians that was playing, I told her about that. I went to go tell her about that moment because it was her singing I Will Always Love You. And she was already crying in progress, which in turn made me cry so much more. And I was like, this was not supposed to happen tonight. I was not planning on coming out here and crying in front of all you people.
I did not schedule my cry.
Did not schedule my cry. But it just, all that to say, it feels really, really good to have live music back. And
I'll
now,
drink to that.
with that, it is time for me to leave. Love you guys. Peace. I'm
so you
out.
can't appreciate you, bud. I'll drink to that. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, so Garrett, we've talked a little bit about the past, talked a little bit about, who you all are.
Sure.
Tell us about the future. What is?
Oh man.
I know there's a lot of things because we do share an office space.
Yeah.
There is a lot of not secrets, just eggs that haven't quite hatched yet.
Man,
so
it makes me so nervous that you left this question for after Kent left because he's the filter. He's the guy that was like, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that.
This was part of the plan.
Yeah, you were like, oh, we're going to get the inside scoop. We'll get Garrett 2 or 3 beers. He'll spill everything. We really do. We have a lot going on. The one thing I can talk about is that we're working on a venue. Woo! Yeah. There's going to be a new venue in Knoxville.
I'll drink to that.
I can't disclose exactly where, but it is in the downtown area. We're hoping to announce a new concert series surrounding that music venue to kind of promote where it is. That's going to be this fall. Hopefully you'll hear about that. If you, like Kent said, if you subscribe to the email list, you'll hear first.
Right.
How do we subscribe to the email list?
If you go to bornandraisedknox.com,
bornandraisedknox.com.
there's a little at the very bottom of the page, place you can sign up, and we'll be sending that out probably a week before we announce it to the public. So,
Very
and
nice.
you can buy tickets to it ahead of time too. There's a lot of perks for that email list.
Then you've got a vaccination silent disco coming up.
We do, yeah, vaccination celebration. Let me be clear. We want everyone to be vaccinated. I think it's a really good positive thing. If you are in a place that you can be vaccinated and feel comfortable getting vaccinated, we encourage everyone to do that.
Right.
You are not required to have a vaccination to come to this event.
Okay.
We would encourage it. We want everyone to feel like they can get it, and that's kind of the idea, is like just a gentle nudge. Hey, if you can, please get it. But we want to invite everyone out to it. So that is going on at Central Filling Station on June 25th. Tickets are on sale for that. The silent disco, we really haven't done a public silent disco
In
since
15 months.
Yeah. So this is the first big one back. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's outdoors, so it's spread out,
right.
And, open air and all that kind of stuff. But, it's just going to be fun to see everybody again dance to all the songs that we love.
It's going to be great.
Silent discos are a blast.
So you're working on a venue, your own space.
Working on a venue.
You're working on a concert series to promote that venue.
Yes.
Silent disco coming up.
Yes.
And some other potential things in the irons in the
Southern
fire.
Skies wasn't able to get off the ground in 2019, but we're working with Dogwood Arts on that for 2022. So we've got that going, and we've got a lot of other things that hopefully you'll be paying attention. If you, this is a good time to subscribe. I'm telling you, you subscribe now, and in about 2 weeks you're gonna get your emails.
Scoop.
Yeah. We're gonna have a lot of great news coming, but we're also helping Tailgating for a Cause with Knoxville Brew Fest.
Awesome. That's right. How do we forget Brewfest?
I don't know. But we're really excited about it. Knoxville Brew Fest is one of those great events. This is actually the 10th year of Knoxville Brew Fest. So this year we're pulling out all the stops. We've had to make a couple concessions, but there's 2 different sessions now.
Yeah.
All sorts of beers. It's actually selling really fast. It's August 21st.
I'm excited about Brewfest. And it's going to be the second day of Knoxville Craft Beer Week.
Yes.
As well. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
We lined it up just right.
We'll definitely need to promote. You have to come back on the show closer to Brewfest.
Yeah.
So that all these hopefully little things that you're working on, you'll be able to talk about a little more openly. And
Maybe
then
we can do like some. I don't know how you do giveaways on this, but
we can do a giveaway for sure. Yeah, as long as
it's
we
a
promote,
radio station. We got that covered.
We can do a giveaway for Knox Brew Fest. So everyone keep watching because there might be one.
As soon as it sells out, let me know, and then we'll give away a couple tickets.
I like that.
Yeah.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to add or comment about music and beer or Born and Raised Productions before we sign off?
I'd just say make sure you're following us because we're going to be doing a lot of music this fall and next year.
If you love Knoxville and you love music, it's a no-brainer for sure. So.
Oh, yeah. So
cool. Garrett, thanks so much for joining us on the show. We really appreciate everything you all are doing to make Knoxville a better place to live. And you guys are kicking ass.
Yes.
And
thank you so much for everything that you do for our town.
Yeah. We're
Thanks
honored.
for having us.
We're really honored to be friends of y'all's, so we really appreciate it.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Thanks for being in my cover band.
I want to be in your cover band too.
To Born and Raised Productions. Cheers.
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 All right, folks. This week on tap will be on our blog post only. So make sure to check out knoxbrewstories.com/blog to see a list of events happening this week that you don't want to miss out on. Also, next week on the show, we've got half our guests figured out.
Hooray!
We're going to be having Joel
part of a plan.
McLeod from Pour Tap Room. Joel's going to be joining us on the show to talk about his journey from Asheville, North Carolina to Knoxville. And honestly, and we're going to have Chase Campbell from Print Shop Beer Company.
Lovely.
One of the new brewers there. I just remembered that we booked him as well. So that's what's going on next week. As always, you can join us live Mondays at 6 o'clock at Knox Brew Hub, Or you can check out our radio recap podcast the next day, anywhere you get your podcasts. And make sure to check out our YouTube channel. Cam works really hard on that as well. This is Zach, and Mama calls me Kevin, signing off. To those who have seen us at our best, to those who have seen us at our worst, and to those who don't know the difference, cheers.
Cheers.